What if I told you that your education starts now and you get to be the professor? This isn't about taking annoying filler courses just to meet required credits. This is about actually deep learning and enriching your life. And that's what this video is about today, because I have a very special guest with me. So today we're doing something a little bit different. I have invited my dear friend Eri on because we want to talk everything personal curriculum. Eri, would you like to introduce yourself real quick?
I'm Eri. Hello, everyone. I have a YouTube channel that is in progress. It's going to be about fiber art, so knitting, crochet, and maybe even a little sewing with a hint of personal curriculum in there. So yeah.
And I'm Yana. This is my BookTube channel. We kind of just survived together because a lot of you here are just desperately trying to get a little bit of me time to spend reading. So I definitely will still be reading as an escape from the hectic, never-ending job of being a mother. But I also want to enrich my life with my reading a bit. So in my ramblings, I mentioned to Eri that I wanted to start a 2026 personal curriculum, and because we are twins, we didn't even plan to both wear these outfits today. We are actually just twins. She was thinking the exact same thing, and she also wanted to use some personal curriculum, and so it seemed like we were both facing the same issue. Eri, do you want to talk about the issue we were facing?
Okay, so as Yana mentioned, she's a mom, I'm a mom. There's a lot of moms out there, but even if you aren't a mom, everyone is busy. Everyone has a bunch of priorities and things in their life that just can get in the way of your own personal enrichment. And so that's the problem. The problem is that we have all these goals that we set for ourselves and not always a lot of time and attention that we can put towards them. So this year is about intentionality.
Exactly. So in this video, we both want to cover our different hyper-intentional plans to challenge ourselves this year so that we can pour into ourselves as moms.
Okay, so then what's your plan for 2026 as far as enrichment goes?
I am so glad you asked because I have quite the plan to share with you. Firstly, this is something that I try to do every year, which is read my entire Bible front to back, because that's just something that as a Christian, I always need to be reading and doing and improving in. This year, I specifically want to try to memorize more scriptures so that in the hard moments, they're just popping into my head and, helping me through that time. So that one is just going to kind of entail waking up a little earlier before the kids and getting in some reading and studying time. So that's pretty straightforward. Then I have literature class that I am giving myself. A lot of you may not know this, but I actually studied literature in college as well as communication, and the classics are just something that I've always enjoyed. So I kind of found myself missing my old classes and missing the chance to critically engage with old texts, but I can do that now. That's when I realized I can just be doing that right now. So I made a list of about, I want to say my original list was like 20 classics that I had been wanting to read, but with the help of Gemini, my personal AI assistant, we whittled it down to 12 that made sense and kind of went together thematically so that I can focus on units this year. So these are the 12 classics I'll be reading this year. I'm going to try to tackle one each month, and then I want to write a critical thinking kind of essay at the end of the year, so maybe I'll share that with y'all. I don't know, but yes, just 12 classics and 3 different units. So that would be my literature course. Then lastly, I wanted to do a personal development course, and this one is way less strict. I would like to get to 6 self-help, personal development sort of books this year, but if I don't, I'm not putting a lot of stress on it. I just really want to focus on organization, time management, and productivity because, as y'all know, I really want to be mindful of how I'm spending my time. So that's what I'm going to tackle with those reads. I have a couple of them that I know I want to get to, but I don't even really know each one I want to read yet. So that one's much more slow paced. It's more about quality than quantity. Eri, would you like to share some of your personal curriculum? Because I know we're dying to hear what you are doing this year?
So my personal curriculum is a 5-year journey, but for this year in 2026, I'm focusing on developing systems that I can carry into the next 4 years. So this year is all going to be about self-development and establishing routines and habits. Routines and habits that I can carry into the years to come. So I'm breaking everything into semesters, and the first semester, which is going to be the first 6 months, I'll be focusing on reading these 5 books, and I'm going to start with 4,000 Weeks and take things from each book and implement it as I go. If you want more information about how I'm implementing everything, or if you want to do your own personal curriculum, I'll talk about that a little bit more on my channel, and I'm sure we will share more. We'll get into the questions later.
And I might be stealing some of the books she is doing because I'd love to.
We can collab again.
We'll definitely collab again. We are also going to stay tuned because we're going to do, let's say like June, July, a check-in.
Yeah.
Okay. If you could go back to your 20-year-old self and hand her a syllabus for how to thrive in 2026, what do you think your core theme would be?
I think I would tell her, I'm 32, by the way, so we're far removed from the 20, from being 20. And I think I would tell her to slow down and be intentional. I feel like in my 20s, I was like on every fad. Like every time there was a new book, every time there was a new trend or new like personal productivity, whatever, I would implement it or try it. And you see where we are. So doing it again, starting over from scratch. And so I think I would tell her to learn more about herself and how she learns and not like how other people learn, and try to implement change from a place of knowing herself. What was a spark book or moment that made you realize that formal education was just the appetizer?
That's a great question. It's basically asking what's the start of all this? And I'm not gonna lie, TikTok won this one because I think a lot of times I could have a tendency to look back at my time in college or, in school, all the years studying with a little bit of like fond nostalgia, like, dang, I remember when my full-time job was just learning. Like, I miss learning. Like, I literally looked at my husband and I was like, sometimes I just get sad thinking I'll never need to write a paper again. So it was the TikTok trend of personal curriculum to where it was like a light bulb went off, even though it's so simple. You can think critically and engage with texts on your own terms. You don't need a professor. You can be the professor. So that was my moment. Did you have a moment?
Very similar. TikTok, just online in general. I feel like I, unfortunately, am sometimes chronically online. And when I saw the idea of a personal curriculum, I was like you said, like, wow, like I don't have to have this formal structure. I can create that for myself. I don't have to pay someone hundreds of thousands of dollars to learn something. There's a library, there's the internet. And so like you can literally find syllabus. Like I'm doing a course in psychology, and I'm using John Hopkins syllabus, and I bought the book. And so it's just like, I can do that. Like there's no rules to education. And I think that is what unlocked that like stigma for me, that it had to be, because I said the same thing to my husband. I was like, I kind of want to go back to school, but I don't want to pay for school. And I also don't want like to have the rigidity of school. Like I want it to be more flexible and on my own terms. And it's like, why not? Why can't we do that?
Truly a light bulb moment, because we were so institutionalized. So how do you, as a busy mom, protect the energy needed for structured learning? How are you going to protect your lecture time?
Honestly, that's something I'm still trying to figure out. I'm still in my first year of motherhood, and I feel like every week it's something different, with like developmental milestones, with sleep regressions, teething, sickness, like all of these things. And so I feel like all of it is competing for my time. And what I've told myself, because I have the flexibility and I'm not in like a formal class, is that my priority right now is to take care of my daughter. And then with whatever extra time I have, I'll dedicate to myself and to learning. But I do have help. Like I have family, I have my husband. Like even I'm here now because my husband is watching his daughter. I won't say babysitting because it's his daughter. But yeah, I think that having support is very helpful. But as far as like the day-to-day, I stay at home, and majority of my day, I'm just trying to entertain a 10-month-old. And then in her nap time, when I get it, and when I'm not like trying to clean up everything around the house, or when she goes to bed at night, that's when I spend some time on myself. What about you?
So I have written this out in a very elaborate planner. I've given myself time blocks. So y'all, I have chronic, I call it cleaning ADHD, but it's really like productivity ADHD, to where I'm like, I'll do a little bit of this, I'll do the dishes real quick, and then I'm like, let me get some Play-Doh out, and then I'll do that for 20 minutes, and then I'm like, oh wait, no, I was supposed to organize all the spices in the spice rack, and I go over there instead of just doing one thing at a time. And my husband always laughs at it for me because he's like, the house looks exactly the same. So all that to say, I'm time blocking. I'm gonna have my cleaning time. That is cleaning time. If I don't get it done in cleaning time, I'm going to have to wait till the next day. I'm going to have my study time. Hopefully, if and when the children nap, will be my study time. Yes, it's going to take mental energy. And sometimes they drain your energy. But I feel like if I know it's coming and I know the expectation around it, it helps me know that that's when I need to switch my mind into this mode. Also, I saw a tip the other day that was like, laziness is thinking about the effort something's going to take rather than the end result. And that's so true for me, at least, because when I'm lazy, I'm like, I don't want to get up and do this. Rather than, wow, now I have a chance to work at this thing and think of the end result. That's my 10-minute ramble of how I plan to protect this mental energy. Again, we're going to have to see in the check-in.
No, that's actually very helpful because like as you say that, I'm like, maybe I can like do something similar where I time block days where like this day is focused on psychology. So anytime that I have a free moment, I'm going to be reading from the textbook. This day is focused on cleaning. So anytime I have a free moment, I'm going to be cleaning. This day is focused on self-improvement. So anytime I have a free moment, I'm going to be reading my self-improvement books. That way the day is like not as predictable for me. So being able to have a day where I focus and like time blocking that way, I think would be helpful. So I might have to implement that.
So what is going to be your end of year review process for your personal curriculum? How are you going to know if you've passed your courses?
So I am focusing on developing systems. And so my pass is going to be that I actually implemented the things that I read in these books. I don't want to just read for like the knowledge of it, because that's what I've been doing in the past is like a lot of these books I've already read and I just never implemented. I would just be like, oh, that's a great idea. And I think the issue is that I was doing them audibly. So I needed like the physical books so that I can actually like take notes, refer back to it, all those things. That's really hard on an audiobook. And so I think my success is going to be that I can go into 2027 with habits and systems that allow me to live a life that is efficient, productive, not overwhelming, and that makes sense. What about you?
I think for me, on the Bible, Bible in a year, that's pretty pass or fail. Did I read the Bible in a year? And I'm not going to be as lenient on that one because that's just something I need to do. So I'll just, say I did or I didn't read it in a year. For my classic literature course, I feel like it's kind of going to be pass or fail, but I don't want to say I fail if I don't read all 12. I think I'll fail if I don't engage critically, take notes on them, highlight them, because that's like the main reason I want to read them. And see kind of how successful my units were in making me think about those things. Here, I'll refresh my units right here. And then hopefully I write the final paper. I'm being strict on myself about writing this final paper because if I just do like 2 to 3 pages, I think that would be enough, for my first year. It's not like I am still a mom. I have to keep that in the back of my mind. So when am I going to have time to do this? I don't know, but we're going to figure it out. And then for my personal development, this one I'm going to be so lax on. It's just kind of, is this book benefiting me? Yes or no? Like you said, am I implementing the things? Yes or no? And so that's how I'm kind of like grading myself or seeing if this was if this was successful or not. So if you fall behind on a subject for a few months, how do you plan to adjust? Or is there a certain point where you're just going to call it quits and just cut that class? Or I guess drop the course, if you will.
Yeah, so definitely there's probably going to be a point where I drop a course and re-enroll, I think I will evaluate it based on, like I'll have to think critically about why it's falling behind. Am I genuinely just that busy? Is it not engaging for me? Is it not something that I'm like need in this season? And if, depending on the answers, I'll either revise the course, drop the course and save it for later, or just like completely get rid of it, just depending on which category it falls in. But I think just, like I said, thinking critically about how I am engaging with the class and what's going on in my life. Is it truly that I just don't have the time, or is there something else behind that? And then from there, readjusting to accommodate my schedule or accommodate my phase of life. How about you? How do you plan to address what I want to say is the inevitable, but I don't want to put the negativity out there. But yeah, we'll check in the summer and see, but how do you plan to adjust if you fall behind in a course?
I think this is a great question because we have to remember personal curriculum is adding on to the full-time jobs we already have. Whether you are, working 9 to 5, momming, which is its own thing, but this is supposed to just like be enrichment. So it's supposed to be fitting into where it can. So that's going to be the key, is not getting into toxic productivity to where we're letting this actually become a negative thing. My plan for this this is, again, I'm focusing on quality, not quantity. So let's say I read classics this year and 2 self-improvement books, and I get halfway through the Bible, but keep my main goals at the forefront. So my main goal is I'm doing this course in Bible to memorize more scripture. I'm doing a classic literature course to engage critically with beautiful classic writing. It's a classic for a reason, you know? And then with personal development, I actually want to see if there are things and methods that can benefit me and add to my life. So keeping the goal in the forefront and being okay with falling behind for a few months, especially because kids will throw things at you that you have no choice but to just adapt. You have no choice but to adapt.
So then with that being said, how do you make this seem fun and not burdensome? Like with what you said about, like, it's for our enrichment. It's not about just being, like, executing perfectly. Like, how are you going to make sure that you're having fun?
That is such a good question because, okay, so one thing that I really am trying so hard to do this year is take away my doom scrolling time. Now, is that going to be easier said than done? Yes. And so I feel like rather than just taking something away and then breaking and going back to that thing, I want this to be something that can fill up this time. I chose all of these things because I want them to be fun. I'm a nerd. These are fun things to me. Maybe not the self-improvement, but hopefully I'll start with discipline and then the enjoyment and the fun will come in a little later. Now, discipline first, fun will come later. We'll check back in July, but that's what my hope is. What about you? How do you think you're going to keep this from being a chore or just another thing on your to-do list?
I definitely agree that there is some boredom, some like not looking forward to element to some of the subjects, but I think they're also necessary for me to like be able to enjoy the other ones that I want to enjoy. So for instance, I'm most intimidated by this first section, which is why I'm tackling it first, which is like developing systems and habits. But if I can get through this and power through this, then I feel like I can enjoy on the other end a lot of the stuff the other goals that I have. I think at the same time, I will pepper in fun things with the stuff that's not so fun. So like, though I'm doing self-development and like focusing heavy on that this year, I also am picking up knitting again. So I'm like, I have all like the sweaters and stuff I want to make this year. And then I'm also like focusing on my fitness. So I'm going back to the gym and like stuff like that. So I feel like it'll hopefully be enough balance to where I don't feel like it's so burdened. And then a lot of the things too are things that I should be doing anyway. And so it's like at a certain point, it becomes like second nature, and then it's not fun or not fun, it's just like a neutral. And so I think that's like the goal maybe is to have like a lot of these things just be neutral and then have like the fun peppered in with the not so fun. But we'll get there, and hopefully, like I said, we'll check in the summer and see how things went, but hopefully we're able to keep at it and keep going and not get burnt out, because that is the worst.
Same here, sister. Hopefully our fit, smart, intentional selves are looking down on us now and laughing like, yes, fun isn't the point. Well, thank you so much for joining me today, Eri. I did go ahead and get you a little gift. This is a book I'm really excited to read. It's called Happier Hour. And it kind of just felt too much in line with what we were talking about today that I just felt like we should both have a copy.
It's called The Happy Hour, How to Beat Distraction, Expand Your Time, and Focus on What Matters by Cassie Holmes. And she is a doctor, so we trust her. Yeah, I'm excited to read this. Thanks.
Of course. Thank y'all so much for watching this video. If you made it to the end, I want to hear all about what y'all are implementing this year. It doesn't even have to be like a personal curriculum, just things that you're hoping to improve on maybe. Or maybe you are like us and you planned out a whole course for yourself this year. Please comment down below because we would love to talk about that with you. I'm going to link Eri's channel, of course. So please go subscribe to Eri's channel and give her lots of love. But yeah, please like, comment, and subscribe. And we'll see you in our next collab.